This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined by Shane McGuigan. We're back here at the hotel following, wins for Chris Billam-Smith and Anthony Fowler at Fight Camp. Shane, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Elated, but also tired.
Yeah. Well, mate, to be fair, it's actually pretty early for us for a post-fight. What is it? 2 o'clock? It's about par for the course. We'll try and make it relatively quick. Chris Billam-Smith, we'll start with the big man and work our way down. Close, competitive fight with Tommy McCarthy, and one that he edged by split decision. Talk to me about the fight.
I mean, obviously the scorecards had it close. I didn't necessarily. I always mark the card, and I'm always really harsh and towards our fight. I always, if it's a close round, I'll always give it to the other side. And we still had Chris up by 1. My dad had him up by 4. But then I looked across at the zone commentary, and I had Darren Barker was like, "Oh, it's fucking nip and tuck here, mate." Apparently, Andy Lee was quite biased towards Tommy McCarthy. I just don't see how you could have him winning more than 5 rounds. 4, really, in my opinion. I mean, he was trying to time Chris coming in. Chris definitely got a little bit sloppy in there and got hit with far too many shots. And that's something we can address later. But he forced the fight. He made the fight happen. If he stood off, he could have stood there for 2 days because McCarthy wasn't coming towards him. He was the one that was pressing the action. And you have to kind of give credit where it's due for the guy that's going to create the fight. That fight, Chris Billam-Smith's always in great fights, right? Tommy McCarthy's not. Him versus Bilal Lagul, it was a stinker. That was a great fight because Chris forced that. He wanted the stoppage, and in the process, he got a bit reckless and got hurt in the first round. But McCarthy was hurt in the first round. It's just it was an action-packed fight, and I think Tommy did a great job. He really turned up, best shape of his life. That's the best we're going to see Tommy McCarthy, but it still wasn't good enough to beat Chris Billam-Smith.
I just spoke to Chris over there, and I kind of mentioned going into the fight. Obviously, there was some back and forth between the camps. Obviously, Carl Frampton came over a couple of days ago, was in the change rooms wrapping the hands. Do you think that had any bearing on anything during the fight?
Not at all. It's just childish. Honestly, that's childish. He's a 2-8 world champion. He's had huge success with me in his corner. He's never once thanked me for fuck all, right? And he's coming over here. He's made a lot of money. He's coming over here to then pay for his own way to come over to try and be the bucket boy. It just looks like it's taking the limelight away from Tommy. Tommy's not been in many big fights. This is his moment. Let him have a fucking bit of moment and a bit of limelight. It's disappointing that he's done that. And he did it all to try and spite us. And it's I have nothing against him. Honestly, I don't. Because my gym's full. I've got Daniel Lawrence in the gym. I've got great people in the gym, and he's just part of my journey. But he's going out of his way to try and do this sort of shit, and it just looks, in my opinion, he'll have his little small Twitter army that kind of try and slag me or whatever. But it's just realistically, look at it from the outside looking in, it just looks fucking stupid. And it didn't play on anyone's mind. I think, if anything, it probably hindered Tommy a little bit because he's trying to not just win for himself, which he should be trying to win for, but also win for somebody else's ego.
After the fight, Chris was asked about a rematch. That's obviously been called for. As I said, close on the scorecards, at least split decision. Any interest on your side with a rematch?
I think it'll be a great fight for a rematch. I think Tommy genuinely deserves a rematch because he put up a fantastic fight. He fought out of himself. And he did that because he's got a young family. He fought like a champion to try and retain his belt. But in the rematch, as the rounds went on, I think that Chris was more and more comfortable in there. It's the first time actually doing 12 rounds as well. He's done 10 with Reactball and Dukar, but it's the first time doing a 12. And I thought he came on strong in the last couple as well. So. I don't think he really respected Tommy's power, but Tommy's he's a loose puncher and he can walk people onto shots, and he caught Chris with a couple of fantastically timed shots early on, which played a big part in those opening rounds. So we had to sort of really force it. Had to try and but win those last 4 or 5 rounds. Do you know what I mean? And the problem with Chris is he switches off too much. He gets little bit of success, switches off, and gets caught with silly sloppy shots. But if it was a rematch, I believe that, I'm sure they would as well believe that they'll put a better performance on. But I know that Chris will put on a much better performance.
The first British champion, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but 2-weight world champion, 2 unified world champions. George is world champion, and now Lawrence. So, but I've had European. Taylor skipped it, Frampton skipped it because Scott Quigg was there and Jack Catchell was there for Taylor. I inherited a British champion in Lawrence Coley, but actually the first one that I've genuinely won, so I'm pretty happy about that. Yeah.
Moving on, Anthony Fowler against Rico Mueller. I think by his own admission, he said he wasn't particularly happy with his performance. What did you make of it?
I think he's been harsh on himself. I think he's been emotionally drained. I mean, I don't have kids, so I don't know what that process is like. But I know that speaking to both my brothers, it's an incredibly overwhelming thing. He also said a point that a lot of people probably wouldn't have realised or picked up on. He said he felt like he was a bad dad because he hadn't been there for the first sort of the most important nights when his son's coming home. Do you know what I mean? And there for his girlfriend. So it's there's a lot. There was also the fact that Billam-Smith, the fight was on the horizon. He knew he had to perform. He knew he had to win. That was obviously going to be a fight that he was going to win. But he wanted to put in a statement. I think there's so much stuff going on, especially in the last week, 2 weeks, because this fight closed in the last week. This Billam-Smith fight closed in. There was a lot of talk that he was going to go on and box Tim Tszyu and even Israel Majidov. There's lots of other fights out there for him, and Jesse Vargas fight that he really wanted as well. But Eddie put up a fantastic offer, and for both sides, this is a really, really great fight for us, and it's a huge step up in class. And we needed those 8 rounds, 8 or 9? Was it 9 rounds? I think he might have stopped him in 8 rounds. Yeah, he didn't go through the gears early on in the fight, but it just took a little bit of time to get into his groove. But it also showed that he could fight at a really, really high pace and have a huge punch output. And Billam-Smith, you can't train to stop Billam-Smith. You've got to train to try and win on points. So the fact that he got those rounds is great for him.
That big step up. I mean, we've been talking now for a long time with Anthony about getting a big domestic fight. This is a fight that is above domestic level. Billam-Smith, a former world champion boxer at a very, very high level. Bring out the best in Anthony Fowler, you think?
Oh, it's got to be. Billam-Smith is a really good fighter. I think he won that fight out in Russia. He didn't get it. Is it the Billam-Smith that beat Liam Williams 2 times? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that weight, staying at it a long time. He actually beat my mate Steve Turner for the ABAs at 67 kilos. God knows what. I mean, I was like Steve Turner's last spar before going into that contest, and then he turned pro after that. I think Liam did it. So he's been at that weight a hell of a long time, and I don't know how comfortable he is at 11 stone. So, but we got to prepare for the best Billam-Smith. Do you know what I mean? We got to prepare for a guy that's. This isn't just a domestic dust up. This is bragging rights in Liverpool, and Fowler's Marmite. You love him and hate him, and as I said in the previous interview, if the people that don't like him are 100% going to be behind Billam-Smith. So there's a lot on the line, and we've got to really train hard. We've got to train like a demon for it, because Liam puts a load of pressure on. He's going to be bang up for this fight. It's at home. It's not like he's flying out to Russia. He's going to be well up for this one.
I think I've already seen that Anthony is an underdog at the bookies. I put out a poll which Billam-Smith kind of ran away with in the wake of the fight tonight. Does that motivate you? Give you a little bit more motivation going into the fight?
Definitely, but we're not. We're doing it for Anthony Fowler. Do you know what I mean? This is he wants to be a world champion, and Billam-Smith is a former world champion. He's not a world champion at the moment. So our ambitions is to fight the best guys, and I mean we could hang around and try and box Cheeseman, but this thing's like I believe Eddie whenever he says no one domestically wants to fight you, and if they do, they're putting up silly figures because they know the risks. He's a hard puncher. He's now can fight at high pace. Do you know what I mean? He's a hard puncher. He now can fight at high pace. He's starting to layer his punches. So I think he's going to beat. I really believe he's going to beat Billam-Smith, and I don't think we can get a stoppage, but maybe might get a stoppage later on. But it's a great fight. The two of them have the potential to stop each other, but I'm just really backing my man.
I'll leave the final word to you on Chris Billam-Smith, now the British, Commonwealth and European champion. We've said it over the years, kind of when he came to you, the expectation wasn't necessarily there for him to go on to achieve that. What does that mean to you to be able to be a part of his journey, and how much credit does he deserve?
Huge credit. It's what we set out to do, really. I mean, we set out to win a world title, but he's now really highly ranked. For a guy that didn't have the amateur experience that a lot of these Olympians do and stuff like that, multinational, international tournaments. It's really like. Also, Chris is a really close friend of mine. He's been through a lot with me in terms of personal stuff that's gone on in my life, and he's always been a real rock for me. He's more than just a fighter for me, and it is genuinely. I'm so happy for him. I'm genuinely so happy for him. This is a world title for us.
Okay, well, Shane McGuigan, always a pleasure. We'll wrap it up there. It's getting on a bit even for us, but thanks very much as always, speaking to Boxing Social, and I will see you soon.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for the support as always, mate, and appreciate it. You've been there, seen Chris do it, behind closed doors for many years, so I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.